Maarten Grootendorst, data scientist and the creator of a few open source libraries that I've started to use and enjoy using. Welcome to the Data Exchange podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And so there's a couple of projects in particular I want to talk about. The first one is BERTopic. I think I may have mentioned this in previous episodes, but I was probably one of the first users of that original library, man, the LDA written in C, because I know all three of the people who created that, Mike Jordan, Andrew Ng, and David Bly.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. I've had David Bly on this podcast, actually, and I know the other two well, too. But so when I first started using topic models, it was actually quite a great technique, right? Because you would get all this text and you know nothing about it. It's almost like the equivalent of exploratory data analysis for text.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And over the years, algorithms have come and gone, and I kind of stopped paying attention for a while, and then I saw your library several months ago, and I started getting back into it, and I've forgotten how, with the right tools, how useful topic modeling is when you first come across text, right? So let me ask you this. So what was the inspiration for BERTopic?
That's actually quite a while ago. The combination of UMAP and HDB scan for embedding models, to cluster them and to get some insights into what's happening in those documents has been rather popular over the last few years. There's something special going on about the way UMAP reduces the dimensionality and the way HDB scan then captures that structure. What I wanted to do is get a representation of those clusters without making any assumptions of those clusters that you have, right? Because you're using a density-based clustering algorithm, you're kind of assuming that it can have any structure, any form, any shape. And I wanted to develop a way to extract those representations. So what makes one topic different from another? Because, well, the algorithm did some clustering and basically tells you, okay, this cluster is different from another one. And I wanted to do the exact same thing with topic representations. A few years ago, I started creating a book for, at the time, my fiance, now my wife, to show her some visualizations of the data that we have together, like WhatsApp and these kind of things. And what I wanted to do is
but wait, so just so in general, was this just a side project, or were you, because you work as a data scientist, were you motivated by texts you had at work or projects you had at work as well?
Yeah, so it was mostly just seeing that the combination of those two things worked rather well, right? The HDB scan and UMAP. So I was really involved with natural language processing in my work, and you start to do a lot of research, of course, to methods. And at some point, most people do find the HDB scan UMAP combo, or at least some sort of clustering technique to get some insights. Yeah, and then the next question is then, how do you get topic representations that make sense in a way? And what I essentially did is grabbed an old algorithm that I made for my wife by then to get words that she said quite often, but I didn't. So were really typical for her to say and not for me, and vice versa. And I wanted to apply the exact same concept to topic modeling. And well, that turned out to be going rather well.
But to be fair, the name of the library is not UD map topic, right? So it's,
no.
It's BERTopic. So the big heavy lifting, the big development that you were able to build upon are these transformers, right?
Yeah, definitely. Over the last few years, those transformers have basically changed the way we do text analyses, but also currently more computer vision and other types of fields. And it's because of those representations that it can perform that well. I've been using the sentence transformers library mostly for BERTopic because it does semantic similarity rather well. And especially at the start of the development of BERTopic, Sentence Transformers has put out a few new models. And with every new release, BERTopic was so much more accurate just because of those input embeddings. And I'm expecting it to be more and more accurate as those pre-trained embeddings.
But you had the insight of building this pipeline, so to speak, right? So you start with the embeddings, and then you follow with a series of other techniques to get to the end result.
Yeah, it's essentially Lego blocks. It's not much more fancy than that, right? What I try to do is make it as modular as possible so that people can change the algorithms that they're using. It really is, okay, we have some embeddings, we're gonna reduce them in dimensionality, we're gonna cluster them, get some topic representation, and maybe do some diversification with respect to the topic representations. But because they're all
But let's not forget the other great thing about this library, man, which is the visualizations. which by the way, if you had not included that, then everyone who uses this library will have to build their own visualizations, right? So I think you really kind of thought through what would someone who uses this need, right? So
it's interesting that you say that. I have a background in actually psychology. I used to be a psychologist, and what I try to do with every new feature or product that I'm bringing out, so open source packages, I'm trying to ask myself, okay, who is going to be using this for what purpose, in which use case? And the difficulty with topic modeling is that it's such a subjective way of approaching all of this. So when I give you a topic representation, 9 out of 10 times somebody is going to ask, okay, but why this representation? What is actually in that topic? And that's where visualizations come in. It's a human evaluation of a subjective technique. And that has been going rather well. And I like doing visualizations.
But you give the user a palette of visualizations, not just one, right? So a series of visualizations that get at the heart of all the questions they may want to ask. And the other thing that you do, Maarten, is for people who've used topic modeling in the past, there was always kind of all these parameter choices you had to make, you know, and you're never quite sure. So you kind of remove that. So in some ways, we have to trust that the series of Lego blocks that you've assembled is doing the right thing. But on the other hand, from a developer and end user perspective, you know, if you are using this for exploratory data analysis, then that's one less thing or a few less things for you to think about, right? So,
yeah, definitely. So out of the box, it's relatively accurate. It's chosen a few parameters that people typically use for that combination of models, but still allow the users to completely tweak the models however they want. So if you're a power user and you know all the ins and outs of HDB scan, or you want to use k-means or another clustering model, you can use that and tweak it to your specific use case. So for new users, easy, hopefully, usage out of the box. But those that want to go more in depth with the representations and the way the model is structured, they can do whatever they want. They can make BERTopic completely different if they want to.
And you also included a later development in topic models, which is the ability to follow topics over time.
Yeah, so the structure of BERTopic is modular in nature, right? And that modularity helps me develop extensions on top of it. Basically, when you have a basic topic representation, you can create slices for different timestamps. because what I have is simply a bag of words for those topics. And then I slice the documents in timestamps and recalculate the bag of words representation. But that's trivial because I already have the fitted models. I just have to recalculate them. I don't have to do embedding creation, clustering. It's all not necessary anymore. So building on top of that, and especially getting that time part of the model in there is relatively easy. I should say it's something that you build on top of that. It's not within the algorithm itself, and there's pros and cons to both methods.
So this has been a great productivity boost for me. So I imagine you've gotten similar feedback from many users, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's quite a diverse set of users using this. So you have a lot of people who are using it for EDA, which makes sense. But there are also quite a lot of people in the social and political sciences who are using it to get insights into
to write papers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So a lot of different users, and that's what makes it exciting to work on.
And by the way, so actually, it's funny you bring that up because over the last few years, I have noticed a lot of social scientists have started using topic modeling, which is a good sign because that means all these tools are becoming more accessible, right? Yeah,
exactly. And you see that with a lot of techniques that are being put out there, is the ease of usability is becoming way better. And that draws in people who wouldn't go to these difficult techniques at first.
So at this point, so what are some of the main priorities for you for BERTopic over the next 6 to 12 months?
So I mentioned before, I'm focusing mostly on modularity. And I'm trying, and I'm not sure if it's possible.
I have a suggestion too, but go ahead.
Okay, that's awesome, because the more suggestions, the better, definitely. I'm trying to make BERTopic a one-stop shop. So topic modeling has a lot of subfields, like dynamic topic modeling, topics over class, hierarchical topic modeling. And I'm trying to put that all into one topic model so that it can satisfy every topic modeling needs. And the next step will be, which I'm working on right now, a partial fit function so that it can be used in a streaming fashion. So you won't need as much data, or you can use it in a setting where you have tickets, for example, of software, and it will recognize new topics on the fly. And users can respond to those tickets if they see it's a problem that's suddenly popping up.
This is great. I like your description of one-stop shop. For at least for topic modeling. So my suggestion is around scale. Making it more scalable. In particular, I don't know if you're familiar with Ray.io.
Yeah.
I'm actually an advisor of the startup behind Ray. But now I think it's going to be quite easy for you to at least the embedding step. You can scale that out quite easily. Ray has this thing, Ray datasets. You can just it talks to whatever data format you have, Parquet, Pandas, Modin, and then you can just do a simple map operation and just do the embedding parallel. So then that embedding step would be done instead of bottlenecked by hardware.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So especially with creating those embeddings, that's tough to do. You need strong GPUs typically to generate them quickly on the fly. So something like this definitely would be helpful.
And if you need help, I can put you in touch with the team as well. But check out data sets. I think it's going to be that simple to
I'm definitely
parallelize. And so in terms of the visualization, what do you plan to add more, or is this the because I think for me it's quite sufficient, but I'm not at the bleeding edge of topic models. So are there topic model visualizations that you've come across that are not yet part of BERTopic?
So I think that I have quite a lot, especially with respect to the way that BERTopic approaches topic modeling. So it does clustering, while LDA does something actually entirely different. But with any new feature that I add, especially with extensions or variations of BERTopic, I try to implement some sort of visualization to make using that variation easier. So for topics over time, I added the visualization over time with hierarchical topic modeling hierarchy, and I try to do the same thing with every extension. So that just makes it easier for users to understand what they're doing, because it can be quite difficult to understand what is happening.
So how do you, Maarten, monitor the health of the community around BERTopic? Like what sort of metrics do you follow? This is a question, by the way, I ask many open source project leaders. So what's top of mind for you in terms of metrics?
So there are two metrics that I typically like to focus on. One is a very subjective metric, and that's my own gut feeling. And that relates to my interaction with the community. It's the people that I talk with, the issues.
Do you have a Slack?
I don't have a Slack.
Yeah, and normally people would have Slack channels, but the only caution I would place is because you're one person, you can end up just on Slack and not building.
Exactly. So I just recently opened up the discussions page on GitHub, GitHub as a way to provide that Slackness.
That's pretty good, because Slack has some sort of expectation that you'll respond rather quickly.
Exactly. Yeah. And I want to take some time to answer certain things, especially, sometimes you have time, sometimes you don't. So the focus is at first for the interaction with the community, but the other metric is simply download statistics to see, okay, how many people are using it. And especially when I release a new version, is the old version still downloaded, yes or no? Because if it is, then I know it's being used in production, or it gives me a reason to believe that. And these kind of statistics I try to look at and combine for me to understand, okay, what's the new feature?
Here's another metric, but it might be sensitive because you're European. But Google Analytics on the documentation. So
that's also one.
You can see what people are reading.
Yeah, exactly.
Some open source project leaders shy away from that, but I think all you're doing is looking at traffic, right? So,
yeah, exactly. And even if you don't use Google Analytics, there are still other platforms that you can use. Exactly. I'm not sure the names, but there are more GDPR sensitive, right? That you can use. So that's also a possibility. Yeah.
So what's the most so if you were to give a talk about BERTopic, and I give you 3 slides of interesting use cases, they don't have to be yours. It's something you may have heard from other people. So sure. What will be in those 3 slides?
Oh, that's a good question. So the dynamic topic modeling aspect, that one has I think one of the most interesting use cases to see what has changed over time, the way people talked about a certain topic. So I'm currently analyzing palliative care consults, and in there you can see how certain topics are being approached 10 years ago compared to today. And that change, that can mean something, that can give you information about the way care is being approached, the way certain problems, symptoms are being talked about. And I think especially the dynamic topic modeling aspect of BERTopic, that's an awesome use case. And I hope in the future that the more streaming type of topic modeling will be a similar useful use case.
Oh yeah, it will be. What about, Maarten, what about case studies from users? So what have you heard that really impressed you?
So there are quite a few ones, because the range The social sciences, there are quite a few that are interesting. They range from Twitter analysis to see very specific subjects, how they change over time and how they diverge. Those are interesting. But there are actually already quite a few attempts to do those ticket analyses and to find, okay, if I have software for a certain organization, and it's crashing, can we recognize that quickly and also create a representation that tells me something about it? But those are retrained every hour or so.
By the way, with social scientists, the other thing that's interesting about topic models in the social sciences is they're actually using topic models to analyze non-English texts like Chinese. And the beauty of these things is once you have the embeddings, right? So obviously it helps if you can read the things, but now it also allows you to tackle languages for which you may not be as fluent, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the only difficulty then in BERTopic is selecting the right embedding model for your language, of course. But it makes it a little bit more language independent for users, because there often has been a split between Western languages and, for example, Chinese Mandarin, which has a completely different structure, needs different tokenizers, things like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Back when we were still, back in the day, tokenization was an important step, right? Obviously, now you just go, what transformer model will I use? But I used to joke with Chinese friends, how do you tokenize in Mandarin? In Western languages, you have spaces, right? So
yeah, and so that's still a difficulty with BERTopic though, because it creates a bag of words, and to create those bag of words, you need a tokenizer. So there's some documentation there where you can use it for Chinese languages, but yeah, that makes it still way easier.
So your other library that I just literally started using today,
Which one?
and I have had some, I don't have enough experience yet to give you feedback, but I think it also will fall under my main suggestion here again is to use rate to scale it, which is PolyFuzz, which is, by the way, I have a lot of, I can see once I get it going, and I can use it now. It's just a bit slow for me because I think the scaling, if you can fix the scaling, I would love it. But there's so many. I can see so many applications for data cleaning, master data management.
Yeah.
Right. So it seems like a theme here, and then you have another project called KeyBERT. A theme in your projects is modularize, think of things in terms of pipelines, which, by the way, NLP has always been about pipelines, right?
Always building stemming lemmatization.
But then also bring in all these modern developments, right?
Yeah, so it's combining the new with the old in a certain way. So when you say, for example, scaling in PolyFuzz, that makes complete sense, right? Because especially with those embedding models, that can be difficult. But you can also use c-TF-IDF on an n-gram, character n-gram level, and then it's suddenly blazingly fast. So
but then in the back of your mind, you're going, am I missing some good stuff here if I don't use the...
It's always searching for the best next thing, right?
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think also your emphasis on developer productivity, right?
Yeah,
making the API simple and focus on helping people get their job done.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I can make a very fixed pipeline for something that I feel works rather well, but we have seen in practice use cases just differ. I'm not one to say how somebody should approach the way they're doing their specific use case, and if they want to use A or B. So creating then packages with that developer in mind, I think that's what people are looking for, and that helps them in doing their job in the way they want to be doing it. So that modularity has been exceedingly important in most of those packages. Yeah.
So PolyFuzz, how long has it been out and what has been the reception?
Ooh, that's a good question. So it has been out for 2 years, maybe now. And it's interesting though, because it's downloaded just as much as BERTopic, but it has a fifth of the stars, for example, and the discussions and issues, they're slow. So
I can tell you why.
You can tell me why, because it works, or
no. I think that's the BERTopic is quite unique in the suite of topic modeling tools, right? In the sense of what we talked about, which is basically it's easy to use, it brings in modern ideas, it eliminates a lot of tuning and tweaking, and then it's got all these visualizations. So it's basically like it solves topic models for you. And I think PolyFuzz is that too, but then there might be other alternatives.
Definitely. So PolyFuzz is also a little bit more oriented towards just working and production setting, right? It finds the most similar strings, and that's it. That's essentially all it's doing. Whereas BERTopic is way more involved and requires way more human evaluation, which obviously leads to discussions.
You know, let's not underestimate the importance of entity resolution and data cleaning.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And by the way, you know what I'm using PolyFuzz for is one of these annoying things that we all have to deal with, which is company names.
Oh, horrible things. Yeah. I've used PolyFuzz for what was it? Names of professions that they could write down themselves. So everything misspelled. I need to combine software engineer and programmer together. So how are you going to approach that?
So Maarten, so you built these tools, right? So now we are in the state in NLP where we have this model hubs, pre-trained models.
Yep.
If anything, we have too many pre-trained models. Right. So yeah, for example, even in your documentation, you point to Flare, another library I like. Lots of models there. So for you as a developer, obviously you tell people you can use anything in these model hubs, but in your documentation you make a choice of what to write about. So is that something you think about carefully? Right. So I'm gonna write an example. There's thousands of models. I'll pick one. Which pre-trained model do I use for my examples? Is that something you weigh carefully?
Yeah, so there's several ways for me of choosing that. So I have one example for Flare, one example for other technique sentence transformers, for example. And what I typically like to do is not necessarily pick the best one, because there are a lot of ones that work quite well, but one that works well out of the box, but also is something that's familiar to people. So a distill Roberta is something that most people have heard of somewhere. It's something that most people are using. So let's use that as an example. For me, it's giving the developers a feeling of, oh, I know what he's doing. I know this model. It works sort of like this. Whereas if I would throw in a completely unfamiliar model, and then it becomes, again, more difficult to really understand what is happening. I want to give users some confidence with these techniques, with choosing these models. So you can choose any other clustering algorithm aside from HDBScan. And I could choose a lot of examples, but I chose k-means because everybody knows k-means. The same with UMAP. I'm using PCA as an alternative because everybody knows PCA. There are better examples out there, perhaps, from a performance perspective, but I want users to understand what is happening there and how to use it. And if they understand how to use it, that makes my job also a little bit easier.
And the other thing you actually have done well is documentation. So I don't know because I'm a bit late to these libraries. So if I were to have discovered BERTopic on the day you released it, what would have been the state of the documentation then?
I would still be happy with the documentation because it's something that's really important to me. But I have spent an insane amount of tweaking.
This is an underappreciated aspect of open source.
Definitely, yeah, absolutely.
So, as I was saying that, maybe this partially explains why BERTopic has a lot more stars. You know why? Because today I was on PolyFuzz. The documentation has still blank pages in certain areas.
Yeah, it does. It's true. It's true. I know. I have a major to-do list.
I know.
Especially for you, I'll make sure it gets updated in a few weeks.
No. It's fine. Actually, this is something you can maybe, if you have a community of users, solicit help. Because a lot of people, by the way, Maarten, a lot of people think that to contribute to an open source project, you have to contribute code. No, you can contribute a lot of ways you can help an open source project.
Yeah, definitely. Documentation, even small things as grammar mistakes somewhere in documentation, that's all fine. At first I was like, okay, is it really necessary? But over time that makes my job so much easier and it helps everybody. So anything people can do to help, that's perfect. I would say that it's important that, especially if you're going to do larger things, that first opening a discussion or an issue page, that helps, because otherwise you will do a lot of stuff and then I see something and I'm like, okay, you can do that perhaps differently. And if you had known that before, you wouldn't have to do so much changes, right? So there is something to say about discussing it beforehand.
So in the world of NLP, broadly speaking, what things have caught your attention that you're dying to scratch an itch to either include in one of your projects or start a new project?
So a while ago, a clip came out.
I have Maarten from OpenAI who's going to be on an episode next week.
Oh, that's great.
He's the manager of that project as well as DALL-E too.
Yeah, and those types of models are really interesting also from a, for example, topic modeling perspective. I mean, if you have, let's say you take Amazon with their images and the descriptions together, you can create a sort of topic out of both of them. And I've created a very small package called Concept, which essentially does topic modeling for multimodal inputs. It creates a sort of average of the images, the most representative images for a certain topic representation. And to me, that's really interesting because it gives another dimension to the entire topic modeling perspective, because suddenly you now have also images that can explain those topics to you, or concepts, or however you want to call it. So I'm really interested to see a clip-like model that performs just as fast as some of the other, for example, sentence transformers models.
So we definitely need to get you going on Ray so you can handle all these multimodal images and text at scale. So what else have you been paying attention to outside of NLP in terms of, so by the way, in preparing for this recording, I noticed you wrote a blog post about the data science profession. One of your advice there is to kind of correct me if I'm wrong in terms of the phrasing, but when you're starting out, maybe it's a good idea for you to specialize somewhat, right? So in other words, go deep in NLP, right? Because you can't do everything, right? So
yeah, that's the thing, right? So I'm really focused now on NLP, and I have some familiarity with some of the other fields like reinforcement learning or general forecasting, time series, things like that. But it's not really feasible for me to get the same experience and knowledge SIF and NLP. So what I typically like to do is advise to people, okay, you need to have a good base in all of those techniques. You have some understanding of how it all works, but really specialize. Because that specialization will help you focus on more interesting jobs, more interesting professions. There's even something to say for specializing in generalization. So more of a consultancy job or profession, so to say, where you have, well, actually some knowledge about quite a lot of things, but there's not necessarily one thing that sticks out. But specializing is important because it helps you to communicate to either a client or a potential employer, this is who I am, and this is why you should hire me. But specialization helps, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think actually people don't appreciate this because one of the companies I advise is a successful company around the time series. Anomaly detection, forecasting. And I once asked them, this is anecdote, I once asked them, so why would anyone use your software? Well, the answer is, one, it's hard to build and maintain software like this at scale. And two, it does involve, I mean, most data scientists are not deep into the weeds of time series. And you know, having spent a couple of years as a hedge fund quant, I kind of know what that meant. And in fact, in recent years, I've been kind of interviewing some of the creators of time series libraries in this podcast. And I have to say, we could use Maarten's magic and time series libraries because it's still, you know, it's still a bit challenging to use some of these libraries in terms of dependencies, lots of parameters.
Yeah.
And time series data can be messy, right? So maybe we'll never get there just because of all of the things I mentioned. But the fact that you were able to take something that used to, for me, actually, when I first started using LDA and topic models, if I were to probably document all the steps I had to take, you know, because you had to do all of the steps to prep your data for the library. Then you had to kind of take the output of the library and parse it. And then you had to change the parameter and do it. And then keep track of your experiments, right?
Yeah.
And then this is without any visualization tools.
You need to spend quite a lot pre-processing all of the data. The output is still great, though. LDA is an amazing and elegant technique, don't get me wrong, but there's so much involved, and I'm happy that we can get to the point where it's just run something, get some output. There's always needs to be some tweaking, of course. It will never be perfect outside of out of the box, but it definitely helps in user experience when things just work.
Yeah. By the way, you kind of brought a lot of heavy machinery into BERTopic, like LDA Vis, right?
Yeah, so I try to replicate basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of these things that why would I want to write that myself, right? So, I mean, it's immensely useful the way you've created it because it can output a static file or something more interactive, right? So.
Yeah, so what I've tried basically to do is LDA is a successful technique for good reason. It works really well after you've done the processing. And there are a lot of extensions like LDA Vis, but also dynamic versions of LDA. But the tricky thing is then you have to install 20 packages to have that entire view of LDA and its possibilities. So how nice would it be if you could all condense that into a single package? And I've been trying to do that. Some things have been successful, some things is still on my to-do list. And hopefully it's something people can appreciate. And if they want something new and interesting for the use cases, well, they can always just open up an issue and we'll see if we can implement it.
Right. And with that, thank you, Maarten. Thank you for your work. And thank you for spending time with me today.
Yeah, it was a really nice talk, and thank you for having me.